everybody, and welcome to our third Minds Matters talk show, where we talk about everything that matters to your mind. We'll be sharing some fun and meaningful conversations and hopefully leaving you with a few practical tips. So last time, we spoke about emotional healing, the importance of being aware of how these emotions affect us mentally and physically. And it's about acknowledging how it's normal, and these emotions can come as a form of information as well. So we spoke about what we could do in response, how we can have a helpful way to approach these different emotions. So if you are interested, if you've missed out, no worries. We've got a link on the Minds Matters Facebook talk show page, and you can always go back to them and just catch up on some of the few things that we shared. So so I'm really excited today. So happy to share our conversations with you today because we have a very special host. Well, actually, sorry, I'm the host. We have a special guest today. I'm Kat. I'm the host. I'm a mental health therapist. I'm a little bit funny today with my words. Please excuse me. So I work in mental health, and I'm really interested in anything related to the mind. So I've been really lucky to invite quite a few friends of mine to share some talks and discussions today. So in this half an hour, 1.5 hours actually, I'd like to invite all of you to join us. So if you have any questions, there's no such thing as a silly question. Please type them in. Any comments, any views, we would love to hear them because we want to make this as practical as possible and relevant for you as well. So today we're going to be sharing part 1 of The Secret of Your Mind, unlocking potentials of your mind. So again, just wanted to say thanks to Brother Chong, who's behind the scene. He's a tech advisor to nonprofits, and he's also a mindful practitioner as well. So just wanted to say hi to Brother Chong and thank you for connecting us with the audience and running the show behind the technology. I think he's just loading at the moment, the screen. Okay. So.
All right. Thank you.
Hello. Lovely to see you. Great stuff. See you soon.
Bye.
So it's been really great to have Brother Chong with us behind the scenes, but we've also got quite a few people that's going to join us for the conversation. So just wanted to introduce you our first guest. Behind the 2017 and 2018 title for Global Excellence as Best Health and Wellness CEO for Portugal, in Portugal as well. And a very warm welcome, Bem-vinda, Dr. Sonia Gomes from Portugal. And I think she's joining us right now. She's a lady that wears many hats, an absolute inspiration for both men and women. So I'm really glad that Sherab connected us with Sonia.
Thank you so much. Very nice to meet you.
Sonia's joining us. Just also wanted to say that she's also the Global Goodwill Ambassador in South Asia as the Portugal Chair for Education, Female Empowerment and Gender Equity Programs. Hello, Sonia.
Hello. Good afternoon from Portugal. Yes, hope you can hear me. Connection sometimes is not working here anyway, but thank you so much for the invitation. It's really a big pleasure for me to be here with all of you. And very nice to meet you, Kat, and all the other colleagues from this panel. So thank you so much. And I hope my contribution can be positive and bring some positive deeds to everybody. Thank you.
Oh, thanks a lot, Sonia. We look forward to hearing more from you as well. So to join Sonia, we've also got a few speakers that you might have been quite familiar with who spoke previously on the show as well. We've got Mr. Sherab Wong. He's a well-loved coach in mindfulness, different therapies. He's a very great speaker of all kinds of topics, and he's a translator. Also somebody that wears many hats as well. Hi, Sherab.
Hi, everybody. Hi, nice to see you all.
How are you doing? You're based in Malaysia, aren't you?
Yes, I'm from Malaysia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Yeah, nice one. So a bit of an international speaker and probably audience as well for today.
Yes, yes.
And next we also have Dr. Koonlin Chan, who is a traditional Chinese practitioner, and she is also an experienced meditation mindfulness practitioner as well. Hello, Koonlin. So as Koonlin is probably turning on her mic at the moment, while she's doing that, Koonlin's one of my great friends that we met in Manchester. She's in China at the moment. Hi, Koonlin, can you hear us?
No sound.
We don't. Sorry, I can't really lip read at the moment. Oh,
yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Oh, I try to reduce the any possible noise. So,
great.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Well, I can. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Lovely. Thanks for joining us. And lastly, we've got Dr. Bose. He is a software engineer with many patents to his name. He's a friend of mine from Manchester as well, and just so glad to invite him all the way from India. Hi, Joy.
Hello. Nice to meet you guys.
Hello. So I was thinking for today's topic, to start off in terms of thinking about the secrets of the mind, it would be quite helpful to start understanding from each of your views on how you actually define the mind. And perhaps it would be quite helpful to understand what the mind means to you and what kind of secrets you're going to be sharing behind the mind, or of the mind. So I was thinking, Joy, I was wondering, do you have any ideas that you could share with us today? How would you define mind, and what is the mind for you?
Okay, thanks, Kat. I think that there are a lot of different views coming from, depending on where you're coming from, about what is the mind. But I have chosen to focus on the scientific view, or the neuroscience view, basically. So, Brother Chong, please, can you put one slide about my first slide? So, just to introduce a little bit about scientific view of it. There's no one scientific view, obviously. There are like multiple views on this. There's a global workspace theory and all these different theories of consciousness. But let us say that at least as a hypothesis, what we call mind is probably similar to what may be understood as consciousness and awareness, and called by different names. But from a scientific viewpoint, of course, scientific viewpoint holds that we have got neurons in our brain, and these neurons always give out electrical pulses, electrical spikes. There's like activity happening on different parts of the brain, and sometimes when we see something new, one part lights up. When we hear something, another part lights up, and maybe when we recognize somebody, some other part lights up. So scientists have actually have over the last few decades have done very good research on which parts of the brain are activated, on which kind of thing. So they have multiple views on what consciousness is on the basis of this research. So like one of the views, for example, is that you've got all these neurons, which are like the nerve cells, the brain cells in the brain, and it's like an emergent phenomenon. Emergent phenomenon is like you got one brain cell which fires, one neuron, and there's another neuron which fires. But then when all of these neurons fire together, there are some properties that come up, which is more than all these individual neurons firing together. So it's an emergent property. That is what is a consciousness, awareness, or mind. That's one of the views.
Yeah, so Joy, I was wondering, so that's really interesting. So you're saying, coming from a scientific background, you would say that you would perceive the mind as something related to your brain up here, which then is made up of different structures that sort of what you call and present something called a consciousness, and they're kind of made up of these neurons, these things in your brain. And you're saying they've got a few definitions on what the consciousness is. Is that right? So that's what the brain is. Brain is the conscious, like the mind is your consciousness.
Yeah, the mind can be thought of as one of the properties of the consciousness, and consciousness is something about how do you distinguish somebody who is conscious, who is awake, from somebody who's unconscious.
Okay.
So that is what you can understand as consciousness, and you can say that person who is unconscious has not got a mind temporarily. So I mean, from the neurons are just the cells. They are just the cells of the brain, the physical cells. If you take apart the brain of somebody and look into it, or a cat or a dog or a human, you will probably see these neurons. These are the cells, and these are the cells that make the brain. So this consciousness or this mind can be, one way of thinking of it is, it's an emergent property of the neurons, of these neurons firing, some property that comes together when these neurons fire together. Another one, some people have said, I think Roger Penrose in his book talks about this a little bit. It's like a quantum computing effect between parts of the brain. So it's some of the effect that comes when different parts of the brain interact with each other. There are some cells called glial cells, some special cells that are there, and they have got some kind of special quantum interactions, quantum level interactions. So they cannot always be studied under microscope, but there are interactions, and that is what causes consciousness.
So
that's another.
Could I just clarify my understanding then, Joy? So it sounds like you define or understand mind as something that can be quite physically observed, and you're saying there's some elements about being awake as well, comparing it to unconsciousness. Okay, and I was thinking, and I know you use kind of like a metaphor, maybe like a computer as well. So it sounds like there's something that's quite observable. It's in our minds, it's in our brain, and it creates kind of these like electricity kind of senses as well. I was wondering what other people thought about and think about in terms of how they see the mind and what the mind is to them. So perhaps Sonia could share a few ideas on how you might perceive the mind. And I can see as Joy is probably, has shared quite a few interesting ideas around it. I was wondering what your ideas might be.
Okay, thank you very much. I was hearing with attention Joy and his explanation, and interesting, because I was wondering, I think we should start by differentiating the mind from the brain. They are different things. Brain is one thing, mind is another. How can we say this so people don't misunderstand and put it in a very, very simple way? Mind, for example, brain, you can see it. During a surgery, you can pick it. You can observe it. Mind, you cannot. During a surgery, you cannot pick mind. You cannot see it. It's not visible to the eyes like the brain is. So that's why I think Joy was mentioned and talking about consciousness, because we cannot see consciousness. We can understand conceptualizing what is consciousness, but we cannot touch it, we cannot see it, we cannot fix it. But brain, we can try to fix it, we can see it in a surgery. It's very different things. One is how can I say, photographic. One can be photographed, brain can be photographed, but mind cannot be photographed. I should start by this point. What do you think, Joy?
Yeah, this makes sense. I mean, there are two views of it, right? So, I mean, depending on where you're coming from, like I could say that even this photographic thing can be explained in terms of the activity of the neuron cells. That's one way of saying
absolutely.
it also.
That's the other part, and the activity of the neuron cells. There is, according to how can I say, neuroscience, there are many definitions of mind, brain, the neuroplasticity of the mind, how far mind can go, and consciousness. One thing Joy said, and it was very important, is the awakened aspect of being conscious of, and totally not being conscious of. I think this is the aspect of the mind I would like to bring here. I see mind as something like, how can I say, in a simple way, like a formless continuum that functions to perceive and understand objects. Let us say like this.
Okay, so it sounds like you've been able to give us a really good example in terms of being able to take a picture of it and not being able to take a picture of the mind. To illustrate that there is a connection perhaps with the brain and the mind, but the mind itself isn't just the brain. And
like the mind is the brain in action, maybe.
Okay, that's an interesting way to see that. Yeah, so mind's away, with the brain in action. And I was wondering, that actually sounds like perhaps them understanding what goes on with the brain and the mind can work together quite well.
Yeah. That is very important point, so people can realize, because sometimes when we talk about the mind, many people think we are talking about brain. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And I think the most simple way to put it is, you think like in a surgery, wow, I can operate the brain, but I cannot operate the mind. That is the big point.
Yeah, so I'm going to be quite interested in asking you a little bit more later on in terms of the connections behind that. I was wondering, Sherab, do you have any, what are your views on what Sonia and Sherab and Joy has been sharing?
I was trying to talk about, okay, there are two things here. When we talk about the mind and the nature of the mind, there are two aspects, okay? So when we delve into what is mind, first of all, I think for me, mind is what everything's happening now is mind, actually. When you talk about consciousness, the nowness of everything that appear in front of you, our thoughts, our emotions, our ideas, is all mind, actually. Yeah, what is happening now is mind. So in fact, in world, mind can sometimes be brain, sometimes be a psychological phenomena. So oneness is mind, actually. You know, when we are one with everything that happened at this nowness, it is mind. But this is only one aspect of mind. Yeah, as William James say, to see a world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower, whole and infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. So everything happened at this moment is mine, including those who are listening. I'm speaking here. Yeah, sound is happening here. Everything's happening in this nowness is mine, actually. Mine is functioning through this moment, at this very moment, this present moment awareness is mine.
So it's kind of
that's
like
only one aspect of it. Yeah, oneness of all, oneness of everything.
There's many aspects, and it sounds like you're encompassing all of them. Just the experience of what we have right now, which includes the brain function and responding, receiving information from you, your feelings and emotions. That's what the mind entails.
It can be anything and everything, but yet at the same time, it can be nothing, which is a zero. When we talk about oneness of life, nowness is one, right? Oneness with all. But another aspect is a zero, which is you cannot perceive the mind. You cannot, just like Sonia said, you cannot see the color of the mind, the shape of the mind. Yeah, you cannot really identify where is mind. So this second aspect is a emptiness of mind.
Yeah,
it's empty. Without any substance, without any essence. So this is the second aspect of the mind, secret of the mind. Yeah.
Okay, so you're giving us a few flavors here. So there's a concept of there's from a brain, something physical that you can observe, to it also being something that cannot be observable with the eye, and that it encompasses many different aspects. And I was wondering, and in saying that, you also said there's concepts of emptiness as well, which I'd like to ask you a little more about later.
Yes.
I was wondering, to sort of finish off the understanding what we're going to be talking about today in terms of the mind, because we're going to then dig a little bit deeper on the secrets underneath it. Does Koonlin want to add anything else in terms of your view on what's been discussed and how you see the mind?
I'm sorry, I just been disconnected, but I try to, in my point of view, Song San Zen Master said that, like your eyes cannot see your eyes, your mind cannot understand your mind. So if you use your mind to understand your mind, it doesn't work.
So what are you suggesting then? How can we learn to understand our mind if we don't use our mind to understand our mind?
If we try to reduce our thought or cluttered mind, and leave it as we call empty as possible, but quite often people mistaken the word emptiness, right? In Buddhism, one word can cause, many books that you can, finish reading them all in your lifetime. So that means you can't really read about my emptiness or the mind. The best thing is how to quiet your mind down and let whatever insight appear by itself. So through this kind of awareness, you might grasp a bit better what is about the mind. And the mind is only a word. A word is not the true thing, right? Because word is invented by human being. In the universe, there's not such word, whether it's English or Chinese or whatever you call it, it's the title or the name of something, but it's not about the real thing.
So you're kind of saying that words are representing, like mind is a word to represent an element and a concept of what we're trying to understand in terms of the mind. And it sounds like it's really important, instead of using the approach, to just use our own current, perhaps 5 senses to try and understand the mind, or as you were saying, just trying really to dig into, to use our current approach to understand something, try to maybe take a step back. And as you say, kind of be a bit of an observer, like, and watch, because apparently the truth arises itself. When you're aware, the true understanding of the mind arises itself, other than you trying to maybe, I'm not sure, dig into something. Is that what you're trying to say, or?
Well, I'm trying to say that if just like your brain, if you are using the brain to understand your brain, you're already dead. How can you understand your brain? Just like your eyes. How can you take out your eyes to look at your own eyes? So the only grasping for the mind, the brain is to perceive other external stuff, like your eyes look at things outside you. But how can you take the eye to look at the eyes by itself? So do you understand?
Yeah, so in some ways I can see why we're learning from each other, or sort of bouncing off each other, and getting some perhaps perspectives to look and understand, without just using, as you said, our current state or the mind or your eyes to understand a particular form that we're currently experiencing. But I'm aware that I'm aware I'm blabbering on here, so let's maybe start with the perspectives that you all have. Maybe start talking about actually what the secrets you'd like to share behind these different concepts of mind, and why that would actually be important for us as well. Why would it be helpful to know? Sherab, would you like to start with sharing anything?
Yeah, I think the most important secret of the mind is it is inconceivable. It is unimaginable. So like the Tao Te Ching say, the way that can be spoken is not the constant way, the constant Tao, and the name that can be named is not a real name actually. So it's the inconceivability of the mind is a secret of the mind.
So the secret is that actually we can't really conceive it, we can't imagine it.
Yeah, that's why it calls a secret.
The secret of the mind.
So that's called a secret, but that's the emptiness of the mind. Yeah, but when you reach to this point where everything happened at once, which is consciousness happening at this moment, the nowness of mind, the oneness of mind, that you can feel that you are one with everything.
So
yeah,
can you
so
explain to me what you mean by emptiness of the mind and one with everything?
Okay, the emptiness of the mind is like the sky, the big blue sky there is free from the cloud. The nature of the mind is like a big blue sky, okay? But within that big blue sky, everything can come and go easily. Many clouds can come and go, rocket can come and go, and then anything, birds can fly here and there.
Right.
So the secret of mind is that it's empty but yet full of many things.
Okay, so kind of saying like emptiness of the mind is like the sky, where
it's like
things
a zero.
come and go and change.
Come and go.
It's kind of, you think it's full of something, like for example, there's cloud and there's a sun and everything. But at the same time, you think it's empty because it changes all the time. So it's not like a cup that has an empty space. Not that kind of definition.
Yeah, you can be as well when a cup is empty but it's full of air actually.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, so it's empty but yet full of many full possibilities is there. And in that emptiness and appearances, you can become one with everything. So what I'm saying is that the secret of mind is 3. Nowness and oneness, we think is 1. Number 1, can use a number to represent it, 1. Okay, when they go to emptiness, it's a 0. But when you go to manifold manifestation of mind, it's multifold. It's like a infinite. So these three numbers can represent the secrets of mind: 1, 0, and infinity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So
yeah. So that,
yeah, so,
that I use this number to explain the secret of mind. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some numbers there to give us some clue about how vast this mind can be. And I was wondering, because I know you mentioned things about how there's concepts that you might not be conceivable, it might be unimaginable, and it seems to tie in a little bit with what Sonia is saying compared to what Joy is. So perhaps after hearing what Sonia has in terms of sharing what the secrets are behind this kind of consciousness, maybe then I can ask Joy to see how he might respond to that.
Okay.
So Sonia, I was wondering, how would you Shaz, shared some of his tricks in terms of numbers to help us remind or understand what the mind is. What do you think would be helpful to share?
To go and connect with my previous intervention here, I think, for example, when we talk about the continuum, many people talk about the continuum, but they don't understand the real meaning and simple meaning of the continuum. So one of the secrets of the mind, or I don't know if it calls secret is a very interesting word, but one of the secrets of the mind is that it's endless. You don't see the beginning and you don't see the end. So this is the continuum, means that it's working all over the place, like the particles and like the atoms, everything is happen simultaneously, as Sherab was saying, but with no beginning and no end. What it was is what it is, and it will be. So this is a very important point. I would like to bring also this point to the discussion. It's one of the secret aspects of the mind. It's endless. We don't know where it begins and we don't know where it finished. And this is such a huge opportunity, vast, immense field to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so that's quite fascinating, just having that concept. Actually, perhaps if it's endless, it sounds like maybe there's a lot of potential there. And
this is the continuum, because it's always manifesting. But we never see when it begins, when it ends. It doesn't have beginning or end. It's like a dance. Yes.
True.
And I was wondering, Joy, what do you make of that?
I think it's a complicated question, obviously, as Sonia was saying, and there are lots of aspects to this. However, I mean, one thing I would point out is that rocks don't have mind, right? But if you see all the species in the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, right? Even the plants, they have something resembling a neural structure, which is like from the cells, the chemicals go from the roots to the stem. And if you look at algae, if you look at even the smallest animals, or even the most primitive animals, they all have something. Even a cockroach has something of neural structure. So I would say that is, if you look at it from a scientific point of view, the thing that connects all living things is the fact that they have some way to communicate between the legs and the mouth and all the different organs of the body. And you can think of it as something being a mind. And we also know the language, that all these communications are like either by spikes or by some chemical reactions, or like scientists have studied the spikes, at least in humans. Like we have got small electrical pulses going through our bodies through the nerves, right? And you can see it, like if somebody is paralyzed, then these actually the opposite. If the electrical pulses stop going, then somebody becomes paralyzed. It's almost like that. So there's at least a correlation. You cannot deny the fact that there is a correlation between, if somebody is brain dead or something, then you will see some part of the brain stops working. They cannot think in the same way. So at least there is a correlation.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I can hear what you're saying, but how actually with the concept of the mind, actually a lot about connections as well. And these connections can be seen in the physical kind of observant way, a sense where you can see the neurons, the cells, muscles breaking down. And at the same time, we hear Sherab and Sonia saying that actually it's something that encompasses a lot more beyond the physical side as well, that can't be observed and measured, and actually is a bit of a continuum where it's hard to spot maybe the beginning or end, or there's none as well. And that's why, because it's such a continuum, it's a bit like what Sherry was saying is a bit like infinite. It's like an O or a circle, a oneness kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a magical display of phenomena, actually.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to point is, like, I like the Zen saying or Zen story that well, when we try to understand the secret of the mind, it's like the finger pointing to the moon, but yet the finger is not the moon. We need to not get stuck on the finger, but look at the moon actually, because the finger is never the moon. Yeah.
And I
So
think
what we're trying to do here is pointing the finger now. Yeah.
What is, and I think you so you're talking about, yeah, so Sonia's going to share something about that then.
I would like to share something of attending to Joy talk here. I would like to tell something. If we realize, for example, mind and body, they are related. How do we see the effects of the mind in our body? I can tell you, for example, many things you get sick, you somatize many aspects because you have them in your mind, and then you somatize them as sickness. And you cannot see that. That is not visible. How can you measure that? How can you see, for example, that a particular kind of thought and a particular kind of behavior interferes with a particular organ in your body? That is not visible, but that is true. This is a mind aspect also, because mind deals and with all the emotions, mental states, and perceptions, senses, everything. So all this mix it together, it interferes in the function of our body. And according to Joy, what I think he was talking and referring to the nervous system and the limbic system also, because we humans and animals and other forms of life, we have a nervous system. And then, for example, when something is not correlating with your body in the up down part of your body, with the legs, for example, it can have to be with the nervous system or with the limbic system. When you are in a coma, for example, but you still can hear everything, that is for example, one of the aspects we should think about. How is it possible a person to be in a coma and then reminds everything that he heard during that coma? That is mind. That is only possible due to the senses and the mind. Maybe this is what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that it's scientifically proved, okay? There are some studies about the issue. But what I'm trying to say is that we should not believe everything we think. Because mind also reacts to many emotions, to many stimulus, to many outside factors like light, like color, like sugar, like many things, stimulus. We are always being tempted by stimulus. So we begin to create some thoughts, some ideas, and then we believe them as true. That also happens in the mind.
So you're kind of saying that it's important to address not only the physical stuff, but actually there's a huge connection, as you were saying, in terms of the limbic system and everything, where you can see that it interacts physically inside our organs that we don't even see with our eyes, but it is happening. It's important to address that link in order to understand what the mind is. But at the same time, in understanding that kind of idea, to be aware that with the mind, we might have a tendency to believe in everything that comes up, like our thoughts.
To grasp and to be very sensitive to the external factors, like the light, for example. Light interferes a lot with the sleep, with the hormones. We can talk, this is science, mind reacts a lot to the light, mind reacts a lot to sugar and some kind of particular food that stimulates some kind of glands in our body, because everything is interconnected. So mind is, we don't see it, we cannot photograph it, we cannot operate it, but it interferes with all body. Everything, just outside and inside.
So that sounds quite important if it's something that's going to influence us quite a bit. And as you say, we can become very attached to all these different external stimulus. I don't know if any audience wants to type in their comments or questions to see, you know, you don't have to agree with some of these things that we talk about. But it's nice to hear if anybody has any views or comments in terms of how they feel in terms of what we're saying at the moment. How do other people see the mind? And I was wondering.
Can I just add one more small comment?
Yeah, of
in
course.
response to Sonia's thing. There's one thing I want to also bring here. You know, people with prosthetic limbs, people whose limbs have been cut or they have been lost in an accident or something. Like scientists can actually put like a robotic limb, and eventually they learn to use them just like the normal limb. So it is true that this nervous system, their mind kind of adjusts to it. And even I've heard things like, you know, people whose one part of the brain is damaged, eventually because of brain plasticity. Even Sonia mentioned it earlier. Like eventually the other parts of the brain kind of learn to live with it, like kind of adopt the functions of that part of the brain. So again, the person becomes normal. So, and there's another thing. There's a scientist called V.S. Ramachandran who has spoken of this phantom limb phenomenon. Like phantom limbs are like people who have lost one limb, but they still feel that they can see that limb. So that also can be explained using all these like how the circuits work and how the brain kind of controls these phantom limbs through electrical impulses. So there are ways to explain everything in a scientific way. That's all I was saying. The ways to explain it.
Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like it's pretty helpful to know that actually the mind is something that is endless. It's quite beyond our possible current understanding. There's loads to discover, and at the same time, there can be a scientific and observable way to look at an aspect of how the mind works, because it influences our body, our organs, and how we react. And I'm aware that Koonlin also mentioned about how it's important to, perhaps use a different approach to understand the mind. And I was thinking, from sharing these secrets and understanding about the mind, how should we use these secrets, or how should we use this information to help improve our lives? I don't know if Koonlin has any ideas how we might be able to use what we know about this mind to help us improve the benefit of everyday activities.
First of all, why we want to learn all about this mind or neurons, all these complicated things, different from animals, because animals do not need to study all this. But human being, we always try to increase our happiness and reduce our suffering. That's the ultimate goal, whatever we do. So we try to get back to this aim, our destiny, why we want to learn all these things, why we want to practice mindfulness. So you could say the secret of our, because we cannot really grasp clearly, even we have MRI, is only part of it. Maybe in the future we do not know. Yeah. But so far, all the scientific advancement cannot reach there yet. So we know that some great masters or people who reach a very high level of wisdom, they can help us how to improve our happiness and reduce our suffering. It's like I did my research for 8.5 years. It's only showing people pictures, photos, and video scenery films, videos, and whether the images, including the light, a different color light, can affect people's happiness in terms of relaxation, or whether we reduce their stress or increase their stress. Like I try my best to take photos I feel personally that are peaceful and relaxing. Like this photo I exhibited in UK, and you will be surprised why people can see it as a threat. Can you tell? Can you guess? This scenery, the water is relatively shallow, right? And the scenery in general is quite safe and with a blue sky. why some viewers do it as a threat to their security, their life? Can you guess? Is interesting. What caused them to feel insecure and scared?
That's a good question. I don't know if the audience have any comments about that, but I think perhaps you know, might
your point of view. Anything about
so it might look like there might be, you know, the water increases, it might overflow to that temple, or some people don't like the nature. It depends.
Can Sona or other people is will be interesting from people with a different background, different cultural background. Can you say something, Sonia? Is there anything that you don't like anyway? Anything disturb you?
I don't see nothing here that disturbed me at all.
Okay, you're a very positive person. Oh, what about Sherab?
No, none for me as well. Yeah, nothing.
Okay.
It's quite nice photo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tell you.
Very beautiful landscape.
Yeah. Yes.
Photo is because you can see the tiny building far away, the architecture, which is not familiar to some Westerners, and they get something mysterious. Okay, and that kind of mysterious building threaten their security or sense of security. That's why they don't feel comfortable. Not well, only very few, not many people, but you are surprised because of the cultural differences. So it shows that we have a different culture, different approach, different upbringing. We always have, we make up our happiness and.
So just whilst I think that might have been.
Yeah.
So Koonlin, so are you saying in some ways that in terms of how we can use the mind to improve our lives, first of all, it's important to address that actually a lot of us seek to have that balance, that kind of sense of happiness, and to sort of not have as much stress in our lives. And in order to promote that, actually even looking at pictures, it's important to perhaps choose visual aspects or things that you see, to maybe choose something that might give you a more sense of a relaxed kind of feeling, but at the same time to be aware that the same picture might not give another person the same relaxed feeling, because everyone has different interpretation of it. I think you're on mute. So, I wish I could learn how to lip read, but I haven't been able to do that just yet.
Koonlin, please can you check if she's unmuted?
Oh, can you unmute yourself, Koonlin? So,
yep.
Okay, so I think it's going to take Koonlin some time to unmute her microphone. And while she's doing that, I was thinking, how about Joy, Sherab, Sonia, any of you would like to share how you might use the concepts that you've been introducing? How can, you know, we use that to improve, say, promote happiness or relax or just improve our lives?
Who would like to go first?
Maybe Joy, you go first. Yeah, Joy.
Sonia?
Joy always comes first. Joy is the most important thing in
Okay,
life.
I'll give a start, but this is not really, like, it's only incomplete in some way, I guess. So, Brother Chong, please, can you put my second slide out of the 3 slides? Can you please display my second slide? So, just to give an introduction, like if we assume for a minute that there is at least a link, if not everything, there is at least a link between the brain and the mind, then obviously if we keep our brain healthy and if we follow some practices that have to do with keeping a good brain health, not only health as in like the nutrition and all, but also like how we practice the brain, then we can also improve our mind. So that is the idea. So with this idea, there are a few tips here. Basically, you can see on the slide. So maybe if that's okay, I can discuss couple of these tips or something.
Yeah, so, could you share maybe some examples as well?
Okay. So one of the thing is that we cannot really multitask. Like a brain uses up extra energy to do the context switching. Like if we are focusing towards one task, it's not so easy to suddenly focus towards another task. That is why people say that it's better to remove your distractions such as lots of notifications on your mobile phone, and emails coming when I'm working. So in some places, in some workplaces, they say that you should even focus have some focus time in your calendar, so that at that time there should be no meetings at all and nobody should be able to even chat with you. So that is that is good for you, because you're kind of removing your distractions, you're not multitasking. Also, for example, it's good to prioritize your tasks, because our brain cannot handle too many choices at once. So just every morning, try to reflect as soon as you wake up what I have to do today, and just have the top 3 tasks first. And like very ruthlessly you should prioritize. And also, like if there's something you have to do every single day, for example, at work you have to do some particular task every day, then try to bring it into autopilot. That means that try to make it into a habit. Even things like having breakfast, some good lifestyle habits, if you make it into a habit, then the brain will not have to process it too much, because it becomes like an autopilot, so it conserves the brain energy.
Actually, that kind of reminds me of how perhaps some famous people, I think on Facebook, or a few people, they say that they only wear the same shirt every day because they want to reduce the task of making small decisions that aren't as significant. And so to save that, be able to have your brain to have the capacity to make all the important decisions, we'll leave the other things, the simple things like what you're going to wear, what you're eating, have develop that kind of routine of habits so that you can then focus more on the other bigger projects.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense actually. Yeah.
And
one other thing, can you, Bracham, please, can you go to the next slide? I'll show you a little bit of other tips also for the food part. Like there's some tips for brain health. Like one thing is like these are like common sense tips only, but still like focused on the brain. Like minimize sugar, I guess. Don't drink too much of sugary drinks and things. If you can, then have some omega-3 like fish oils. That is also good for the brain. Have colorful veggies. Like try to have more colors in your vegetarian food, and have some fruits like berries and so on. So these are just some simple health tips. If you do that, then your brain can be healthy. Now, whether mind can be healthy or not, at least this will have some contribution to it. Of course, I'm sure my other speakers will have more tips on the mind as well, I guess.
No, thanks a lot, Joy, for sharing that. I just wanted to also share that we've got an audience here. Thanks, Anthony, for sharing some of your comments. You're saying that the mind is only a term to describe the process of the brain activity, like the CPU of the computer. And he's also said the mind affects our daily activities, our daily life activities, so that we need to learn how to practice, in other words, to tame our mind and avoiding any unnecessary future emotional anxiety or negative thought that would help our physiological body to function as it should normally. So thanks a lot for sharing that with us. So I think in effect you're saying that it's important. I think you're possibly agreeing with what a few of us are saying here, that our mind does affect everything, our body, our everyday activities. And because it does, it's important then to learn how to, as you say, tame your mind, or control, understand. Maybe control might be a strong word for some people. And you also mentioned about future anxiety as well. I was wondering, do any of our guests have any sort of comments you want to reflect on that, Sonia?
Yes. Well, I would like to say that we should be more in touch with our mind. I don't like the words tame, control, this and that. I think accepting or rejecting is not a good principle. Oh, this is better, that is bad. I don't think this is good for people in that are hearing us. I think we should first try to know our mind. It's like when we meet somebody, before we like to know the person, we like to talk with the person, we like to hear the person, we like to sense the person. So get in touch with our mind, that is very important. To see the state of our mind. How do we feel? Are we anxious? Are we breathing? Are we anxious? Are we disconnected? Are we grounded? This is very important. And also being aware of the mind also means being aware of the body. And that what Joy said is very important, to have healthy habits and be aware of your body. Because that's why many times somebody says we eat with the eyes, because we see something and we are already eating. That is mind. So what I'm saying is, let's get a bit more connected to our minds. And that means, please, I would like to request to put the photo I have. That means be mindful, even if our mind is full, you see? Because mind sometimes, our body, for example, can be in bed, lay down, but our mind could be totally busy, totally full, totally thinking about tomorrow, about this, about that. So we are laid down, apparently we are relaxed, but our mind is full. So we need to be mindful, we need to be aware of our mind, of how we are feeling, how we are dealing with ourselves, with our body, with our breathing. So one advice I would like to give, it's not advice, I don't like the word advice. A purpose, a challenge is to focus on your breath, because breathing is very important and is one of the most amazing tools to relax the nervous system and to connect us with our minds. So sometimes if you feel too much agitated, or if you want to put the mind back into the present moment, we could just sit and breathe. Just simply inhale deeply and exhale. I think this is the more basic thing to get in touch with ourselves, is to learn how to breathe properly. Thank you.
So thank you. Yeah, no, I really like how you kind of used it as a way to describe like getting to know somebody before we, do anything about it. It's important to know that person first and to understand and connect with them. And it's just like that with your mind.
Yeah,
as you
absolutely.
said, it sounds like it's quite straightforward as well. Just actually perhaps even starting with something very basic, like your breath.
Yes, very basic.
Breath.
Yeah, and I was thinking, how do you? Oh, and we've got the breath on the Koonlin shirt as well. Breathe. It's all connected. That was the secret. The answer's actually there. Breathe.
Yeah. Without breathing, we cannot live. It's not possible. If we don't breathe, we don't live.
Yeah.
So that it affects all the movements in our life. Can you imagine our mind? How does it affect? Yeah.
Yeah, but I was wondering, how would one be able to learn how to breathe or pay attention to their breathing?
How do we learn? I mean,
how do you learn things? It's nice to learn about how you breathe.
I mean, in my point of view, and you have many techniques. You have and today, I'm sorry, I will laugh. You have many apps. People download apps, and then they follow guided meditations and sounds and this and that. It's okay if it helps to relax. That is okay. But relax is one thing. Observing the mind and calming the mind is another. So we need to be very aware of this. One thing is to relax and to hear the sound of the rain and to hear the sound of the ocean. Other thing is to observe the mind, is to observe how I feel, how I breathe, what I am thinking. I cannot grasp to the water sound to feel, oh, now I'm calm. I need to analyze, why am I not calm? And then I simply breathe. I just need to pay attention if I breathe fast, if I breathe slow, if I breathe with the mouth, if I breathe with the nose, if I can retain my breathing, if I cannot, if I talk too fast, if I talk too slow, low energy, high energy. There's a lot of factors. We could just sit and observe our breathing, the way we breathe. The way we breathe is the way we connect to ourselves. It's like saying hello to your mind. Hi, mind. This is just a thought.
So thanks for sharing that. It sounds like using our breath and paying attention to it that can increase our awareness of what we might need to do or in response to what's happening at the moment. So that's quite, it sounds like something that's quite practical and something a lot of us can have a try. And I was wondering if Sherab has any similar techniques, or is something different in terms of maybe how one might be able to connect with their mind as well with the technique.
First, I respond to the comment that the one we have on Facebook, right? I think the secret of using the secret of the mind is not to avoid from the stress and anxiety that we are having. Actually, utilize it to transform it as a path for our growth and emotional balance, actually. So what we think about stress is also will decide our level of stress, actually. So if you take stress healthily and positively, then you can use the stress as a path to grow, to have a very positive mindset and a positive emotional balance. Yeah. So it's not to avoid or to suppress, but to embrace with the stress or the fear that we're having now. So become one with the fear. Let's see what's the message that your fear or your negative emotion is trying to tell you, and be there for a while. Sit with the emotion, like Sonia said, be grounded and connect with your own mind. Have a conversation, have a dialogue with your emotions.
Yeah.
Then we grow together with your emotions. Yeah. So that is more scientific or healthy way to deal with our mind. Yeah.
Brilliant. So in that case, it sounds like it might take quite a bit of courage as well, because often when things are so stressful, the natural reaction is to stay away from it and avoid thinking, procrastinating.
Yes. Yeah. Because between the stimuli and our responses, there's always an empty space between that. So we need to rest our mind into that empty space and to have a present moment awareness to witness everything's happening here. So stay in that place for a while and rest onto that. And the secret of mind, the miracle or magic of mind will be revealed within that space, the empty space between stimuli and our responses. So just wait and just wait for it to happen. Yeah. The magical display of the mind will happen between that. Yeah.
And I suppose maybe having that breathing technique as well and connecting with that breath is giving you that space between the stimulus.
Yeah, slow down
and the reaction of
enter into that space. Yeah.
Great. So, and I suppose it is a really good technique to not avoid or suppress, as you mentioned, because often those are the techniques to help work with people with phobias, anxiety, where often, for example, if you're, scared of dogs, then you would not naturally avoid them, but then in the long run, it's maintaining the anxiety and the fear. And so by embracing it, as you say, sitting with that fear and anxiety, learning how to understand and manage what's the message it's telling you. Is it saying that all the dogs are really scary, or is it just a particular one? And I suppose then you'll learn to cope with it. And in the long run, you won't need to be scared of dogs anymore.
Yeah, you need to be friend with your monster, the monster inside you, the dark side or the shadow. You need to bring lights in and stay with that. Yeah, because that's you actually.
Yeah.
It's never separate from you. Yeah.
What do you think, Koonlin? Do you think the dark side is you as well?
In fact, I tell you a real example. One of my Hong Kong friend, because she used to scare of dogs, very, very scared. And then a friend told her, if she stay calm, as if nothing happened, and the dog won't do you any harm.
Yeah.
So one time she did, but the dog bite her. And she needs to go to the hospital. So she never trusts any friend anymore. It shows that even you try to persuade yourself that you are not going to be scared when you are facing a dog, but deep down you are still scared. The dog can sense it, but you feel that you pretend to be brave, pretend to be, which is not strong enough. So that's a danger. So that tells us that we need to practice how to get there, how to totally transform. It's easy to say, to be friendly with our challenges, to be friendly with all difficulties. So imagine what happened, disasters happen. in the news, if it's happened to you, what would you do? How are you going to overcome that? In theory, quite often it depends how strongly we believe. But when it's real happening, only when we know about ourselves. So the way to prepare ourselves is to keep practice. Like practice having this breathing space, and breathing has been used in the thousands of years in Chinese medicine or Taoist, or because it's one of the easiest phenomena, or we can anchor our mind immediately. And actually, the breathing system itself, with the attention of our mind, it improves incredibly until, like some of my students for 4 weeks, 8-week course, from 20, 30 times per minute reduced to 4 times per minute. So you can imagine when they pay their attention only 3 minutes each day, they already trained their breathing, the efficiency of their breath become so incredible, so many times more effective than before, after 4 weeks, something like that. So did you understand?
So Koonlin, what you're saying here is that it's quite important, from Sherab mentioning how it's important to perhaps start thinking about stress and difficult things in a different way and using it to transform into something that's quite helpful and positive. I think, Koonlin, what you're saying is it's also important to recognize that at that moment of time and stress, it can be really difficult to transform and have that positive mind. So that's why you've emphasized that before anything like that happens, it's important to then practice and perhaps develop that routine or habit where you can learn to perhaps transform situations, learn to have that breathing space, so that when a stressful situation does occur, you're more prepared or able to transform. Is that what you're suggesting?
There are two main categories of meditation. One is we call mindfulness. That means like breathing is one of the mindfulness meditation. The other type is kindness. General our loving kindness. So if we improve our, like one time when I saw photos or emergent snakes, most people scared of snake. Like even my sister, until now, she's 65. She look at pictures, so suddenly, her emotion, everything will be uptight. It's very, although she practice Buddhism kindness, she's very kind, but she can't get over it. You need probably you need to work much harder to get rid of that kind of phobia. For me, I tried when I study biology about snakes, and I try to be friendly of every part of the snake, like the anatomy of the snake. So I understand why the snake have a slimy skin, why the snake have this shape, why the snake have. So I know that because they needed to survive for their form of animal. So then you slowly have that kind of compassion. Well, why we have this body for human being? Because we need this body for our survival instinct. So same as other animals. So when we have that compassion, that will reduce our phobia. But it takes time. It takes time.
So you've mentioned quite a few things here, and the key things are just, the importance of being mindful of something, but also to have that patience and time to develop some understanding and kindness towards what you're scared about or worried about. And I know you also mentioned previously the importance of how actually practicing mindfulness can improve your concentration span. And I know there are quite a few scientific research around that as well. I think Sherab was kind of like scratching his nose about something. I was wondering if he was going to say something related to that.
Can you show my slide there, Brother John? I have a few things to share here, actually. What Koonlin mentioned is actually quite true and practical. We need to, this is the last one, not the last one, the beginning one. I think it's quite true that we need to practice. And my idea is that to practice in any situation, not when the things happen. So practice in daily life. Any situation you can practice. Even now, you are doing the practice itself, okay? And then also fake it until you make it, you know. Whatever theory you know now is all fake, but you can fake it until you make it, you know. So constant practice, continuous practice is very important. So as I mentioned here, we have three aspects of the mind. We can use these three aspects to improve our life. First is what we are having now. So we are having three qualities of mind, as mentioned before. One is infinite wisdom. Second is a boundless love, which is all infinite and immeasurable. Like Koonlin is mentioning now, we can practice compassion in our meditation. And third is unlimited power or energy or methodology or skillful means in Buddhism, we say. The second one, what we have is these three qualities. Second slide, well, I'm talking about what we can, what we are being now, what we have now. I mentioned here three P's, you know, three mental emotional attitudes that we need to have now. First is the present moment awareness or mindfulness that we can practice here and now. Everything become one here and now. And another one is prayerfulness. When we are in fear, like dog is coming, right? What you do normally? You can't say, the first thing is, oh my God, I need to pray to my, recite a mantra, do a prayer. So you need to be prayerful also as well. Prayerful is ascending to up there to connect with the source energy. Where you're praying to God, to Buddha, doesn't matter. You need to be prayerful at that moment. So you need to practice prayerfulness this moment. And thirdly, where you're staying here now, be mindful and you ascend to the top there to connect with your source, be prayerful. And when you want to help other people, you need to have a light-hearted attitude, which is playfulness. So these three, I will share as the three most important emotional attitude that you need to have for being here now. So this is B. So having being, the next one is what you should do. I recommend a few exercise to practice. First is we need to enter into the flow of life. Flow means that you can be productive and create what you want in the effortless rhythm of life. Yeah, mindful manifestation. Second is we should do a gratitude journal to write down whatever you like, whatever you're grateful for in the day. In a journal, where I call it a gratitude journal. Third, that we need to use law of synchronicity. When you talk about the secret, there's a book, The Secret, right? The Secret talk about law of attraction, but I call it the law of synchronicity. When you connect with the universe, and then you can manifest what you want from this law of synchronicity. Synchronicity means, when you call somebody, before you want to call her or him, she call you first. Everything happened at the same time. So I think this is the secret of the mind as well. So the next slide. So
now that's really interesting, Cheryl. So it's kind of like you're saying, it's really important actually just being aware of the attitude that we have, and what we can give and what we can achieve. And actually, it sounds really empowering just to recognize actually we have infinite. It's not limited.
Boundless.
Or as
wisdom,
said before, the word endless as well.
Yes,
Wisdom, love,
Yeah, it's always there, waiting for us to connect with that source and that whatever we want.
No, that's quite interesting, because I think it's important. I think a lot of people might want to have those concepts or qualities, but sometimes so the brain might say, okay, I can have it, or I will have it, or I could. But then how they feel is slightly different in their hearts. And I suppose by doing those things that you've suggested, that's quite practical, like writing a creative, gratitude journal, doing a creative activity, or even to just focusing on your breath. Those kind of activities will then help you, or help our hearts then start to believe a little bit more with that experience that we can develop these infinite wisdom, love, and strategies.
Yeah. Yes. So that's all. I think, but there are too many slides there, so I don't want to share now. I should basically just be in the flow of life. The flow can be increased by listening to the music, go into the nature, and practice synchronicity, law of synchronicity, and practice your gratefulness journal. Just before you sleep, just write down 5 things that you're grateful for, or before you wake up. After you wake up, just write down what you're going to do today, like how to nurture your body, your mind, and the spirit. That's all. Very simple.
Can I ask you, Cheryl, when you say practice synchronicity, is that like connecting your with your mind? Is that what practicing synchronicity? Is that Sonia saying using your
not
breath
only
to
connect with your mind, but connect the mind of the universe. Synchronicity means
the universe as well.
Yeah, you are co-creating new reality with the universe. You can call it God, you can call it deity, you can call it universe. New Age people like to call it universe. You know, Buddhism we call it Dharma, Ram, or whatever. You know, just connect with the source, and you can always, all the while you are creating this, co-creating a new reality with that source. You're working.
And I was wondering, and I was wondering, what would Joy connect with then? Joy, and with your scientific approach and your emphasis, what would you be connecting with, and how would you use what we've been sharing to help you in your daily activities, I wonder?
One thing is that these two approaches complement each other, right? You do need a good body to have a good mind. You need to have the latest techniques from, not only neuroscience, but also psychology, neuropsychology, cognitive science. There are a few techniques which you can use. And along with that, you can use all these wellness techniques, whatever Sherab was saying about, about your breathing, about connecting with the higher thing, and, being compassionate to everyone, I guess.
One thing I would emphasize or stress is that synchronicity is it's where when we talk about healing, miracles, magic, it's always coming from the behind of the law of cause and effect. When we're living in the world of cause and effect, A plus B equal to C, right? This is a normal law of the order. But beyond that, there's a law of synchronicity that everything happens spontaneously, effortlessly. So when you can work with that kind of energy in the universe, then you can manifest a lot of things in the world for the benefit of yourself and others. So this is what I call synchronicity. It's beyond law of attraction. Normally, you call say what you think about and you bring about. It's more beyond that. It's like you're connecting with the deepest side of the universe, and which you are that, and then you co-create your new reality with that part, the source. Yeah. Then you can manifest anything effortlessly. Yeah. One thing you can do that is to be aware of the small coincidences in your life. Happen at once, Yeah. So this is a soul. Like for example, I give you an example. When the Buddha get enlightened, what he didn't do anything. He just meditated and then he saw the star, right? The first time he saw the star. That's star doesn't make, that's what we are told, right? The star doesn't make him enlightened. But when his eyesight meet the light of the star, at that moment, right, magics happen. Enlightenment also comes from that source, which is beyond cause and effect.
So I suppose for some people who want to understand what that might mean, is kind of like you meet somebody and then suddenly you kind of fall in love. So maybe that's the connection that happens.
So it's exactly. This is very practical.
Yes.
You like him immediately, and you feel there's a intimate connection straight away, and then something is bound to happen. That deepest soul's connection. Yeah. One thing you can suggest is that you can talk to the universe or your higher self. That, okay, for example, if good things happen, I will see a yellow bird. You can talk to the universe in that way. So when you see the yellow bird, means that the universe is responding to you. That this is a path that you should walk on. Everything will be all right for you. Yeah, I think not only like Sonia said, talk to your deeper self and connect with that universe in you. That universe can give you tremendous secret, tremendous energy, tremendous wisdom and healing. Yeah.
So it's kind of like extending your attention, not just within, but also paying attention to the outside as well. To
everything at once, inside and outside become one. Right. There's no difference. Yeah. You are the universe, become one. Then you are your new reality together with the universe. Universe is the boss, Then you are
because we're sort of like, it feels like you're suggesting we're all interconnected with the nature, and I suppose all our actions and behavior are connected to how the weather might turn out or how we respond to different things happening around the world. Yeah.
Yes.
So no, that's really interesting. So it sounds like from what we've been talking about today, we've been starting off with, what are the secrets of the mind? How do we understand what the mind is, what the secret is? And you suggest that the secret actually is more accessible than we think, and it's actually perhaps within.
Yeah.
And we've learned to understand the mind is a lot bigger than what we might see. So Koonlin wanted to say something?
Yeah, I like to follow a Zen master's simple how to maintain my moment mind with the world. So whatever you see, whatever you encounter, you can have this, I call it eco mind. So it doesn't matter it's a plant or beautiful flower or rubbish or anything. How can I be create a harmonious relationship with what you are doing with that thing or that person or whatever? Or how may I help you? And this you can be a person, can be a you're washing a dish. How can you keep clean the dish and not break it? Or just a simple mind. When you have this mind, everything can easily become more positive, because you can be so harmonious with the thing outside you while you are doing it. Yeah. And also with a person.
So you're saying that having the mind. So you're saying having like the mind and doing simple things like washing a dish. It sounds like you're addressing an attitude, and you're sort of emphasizing perhaps having a harmonious, balanced an attitude towards what you're working with, or
like when I'm listening to you, I'm talking to you, how I may be more harmonious or beneficial to the group or to you, or this moment how I can be the best to benefit, or to do my best, or to be kind with you, to be harmonious with you. So it's just very simple, because you have a different relationship, you know the different situation, different people, different thing, you act differently, because what you are encountering is a different situation or different people and thing. Yeah.
So sort of having a flexibility in your mind.
The aim is the same. The aim is the same. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're sort of saying that it's important to have that flexible attitude to perhaps bring your attention to the present moment, and then have that intention to do the best as possible and be as kind and benefit the present situation as much as you can. And as a good technique to perhaps then help us understand the mind, or even use that as the mind, just that attitude to help you improve your everyday life.
Yes.
So I was wondering if Sonia has any sort of other things to maybe add to that, or.
Well, I honestly, I would prefer just to talk in very simple ways and tell that, in our days, we hear a lot about mindfulness, about stress reducing techniques, about this and that. We need to be a bit careful and aware that not everything that is on sale is good. That we should see what we are buying, what we are hearing. We should be very analytic. This is just a small point I want to give. Anyway, I just want to, going back to Sherab and the Koonlin, balance and harmony are the big points to have a stable mind. Or through a stable mind, we can have balance and harmony. Now you can choose what it fits to you. I think for balance, we need body, mind. Here, the word soul is just according to some New Age terms, you can say this way. But I guess you understand the point of balance. The balance is having the mind, the brain, and we can say the body together. Okay? And then the harmony is being grounded, like I am able to manifest things here, now. It's able to be connected with things, connected with myself, connected with nature, connected with the elements, connected with others. So I can release and generate harmony, because we can also, we have this, in our days also is very dangerous, this speech of very positivity and positive thinking. This can be very dangerous, because this can lead us to not recognize things as they are, and try to, put under the carpet many problems we have. I don't think, we also need to be very careful with the positive thinkings and kindness and all of that. And that is very nice. But honestly, I think we need to be much more aware of nature. The only thing I could tell is people to begin to interact and connect more with the nature, the water, the trees, the earth, respecting their elements, because they are in our body too. We are not different than nature. Being aware of nature, being aware of our body, being aware of our breathing, that is the best way to be grounded, connected, release, and work together.
Thank you. That nicely summarizes. Yeah. Now that's a really helpful diagram actually to remind us and connect everything that we've all been talking about. And understand how actually to keep that balance and harmony together. And actually there's quite a few aspects that we can look at.
Not accepting or rejecting. If you go through much to positivity, then you are rejecting something. Then why not integrate? It's like Sherab said, you need to feed your demons. You need to face them and not to put them under the carpet and pretend you don't have demons, you don't have shadows, you don't have fears. You know, we only can transcend it if we face them. We should not pretend we don't have, or they are not there. That's why we need to be very grounded, because I know many people that practice a lot of things, but they are not grounded. And this is very important aspect. We live in this planet. We need to be grounded with the earth. This is a very important point. To be mindful.
And how
to be human as well, as Sonia said, allow us to be human. We have weaknesses, we have demons, we have flaws. We are perfectly imperfect. Okay.
Yeah, we have to be very happy to be humans.
Well, if moment to moment you have done your best, whatever happened, you still feel relatively comfortable with yourself because you have done your best. Is somebody you cannot help, some situation you can help, that but you have done your best. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that you cover up something you can't help. You can't perform your kindness or whatever. You just face the reality with kindness.
So that nicely summarizes I think what we've been talking about today, Koonlin, in terms of having that attitude, that kind approach to just be open and observe. And as Sonia's saying, not rejecting, not avoiding, and being careful with these commercial terms as well, and positivity and mindfulness. And one of the ways to do that, as Sherab and all of you were saying, is perhaps to open our awareness, bring our attention perhaps to something that's quite simple, like our breath, and to be aware of the attitude we have about ourselves and other things, and perhaps open that up a little bit more. And embrace it, as you were saying, become oneness with it. And at the same time, with that oneness would include looking at the physical body side of things as well. Like Joy was saying, the importance of the food that you eat, how you use your attention to help your brain, which is also the physical aspect, manifestation of the mind as well. So know that you've given me lots of food for thought today, and I really appreciate it. And I was thinking, so looking at what you've been all sharing, would you be able to sort of leave the audience with a few key takeaway points that they could perhaps mull over, or something that they could do, like maybe just after the show, that they could even start to practice? Should we start with Sonia, or do like a bit of a...
Honestly, the only thing I can leave as a message here is just the best way to know yourself is to get in touch with your mind, with your feelings, is to allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to heal. Only through feeling you can heal. Only through accept your humanity you can recognize things and be able to work with your mind and free yourself from many aspects. So this is my message, like just try to be mindful and please be soft to yourself. You are doing the best you can in this journey. So don't be very tough. Don't be too exigent. Just relax. And you are human. That's fine. So you just do your best with all your effort, and that is perfect. Everything is perfect as it is. This is my message. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. The honor is ours.
Thank you.
And Sherab, would you like to share your takeaway?
Yeah, I've learned a lot today. I learned from Joy how to use scientific method to approach the mind, and also learn from Koonlin how to be kind and compassionate to oneself and others. I also learned from Sonia about the harmony and the balance, right? Body, mind, and spirit. And so my are still the same. I have the same message: staying in the precious present moment with awareness, ascend with prayerfully, descend playfully, and also to follow the flow of life and to practice gratitude journal and purposely or aware with your awareness create more synchronicities in your life, meaningful coincidences. And another 2 points I want to say that we need to have a mind that is open to everything but attached to nothing. This is very important. This itself is a meditation itself. We need to have a mind that is open to everything but attached to nothing.
Attached to nothing.
Attached to nothing but open to everything. Attached to nothing. This itself is a matter of attached to. And then also just be happy and joyful without any reason, any conditions. Just be happy here and now without any external conditions. Just be happy. So that is my final message.
Can you teach us?
That's no, without condition. That means when you say there's method, there's conditioner.
I'll be happy to procrastinate my homework for now.
No, there's no how. Actually, I always like to say there's no how. It's only now. Now,
right.
without condition,
so
you can
on the now and don't even talk about
without any condition, including without any methods. If you want some method to make you happy, that happy is not unconditional. Just be joyful, whatever goes. Who cares? Just be happy.
Thank you, Sherab.
Okay.
And
I wish I can do that.
Koonlin, well, Koonlin, what kind of takeaway would you like to share with us? Koonlin.
I suppose because different personality or different upbringing or different, we are so complicated. Yeah, because our mind merge with our past and memory, and whether it's physical, biological, and mental. So I think one should find one's most suitable way or many ways when you exposed to many different ways to help you, and it bound to some ways are more effective to start with, and then from time to time, because your mental state or your awareness, the level of awareness has changed, then you may find something, some other method or whatever can be more appropriate or can be more effective. So we are changing, like Sonia said, our mind is like a stream of water, is changing all the time. So if we mostly recognize ourselves, to know about ourselves, then we know what we need, how to help ourselves. Like a doctor, if the doctor doesn't know the body well, and the doctor cannot cure anybody. If we don't know ourselves well, we cannot help ourselves either. Yeah.
Thank you. That's nicely kind of linked in terms of Sherab saying being open as well, and then you're recognizing that actually everyone's quite different. It's nice to be flexible and explore different ways. Everyone can have different means of helping yourself, and recognizing it's important. It's not selfish at all to actually maybe understand ourselves. We can deal with those feelings that we have actually by helping ourselves, and we're enabling us to be more helpful for other people as well, perhaps.
Yes.
And Joy, and I was wondering, what kind of takeaway points would you like to share with us today?
It's the same only, like take care of your body, because a healthy body means healthy mind. That's one of the things. And try to reduce your distractions, prioritize your tasks, try to get into flow at work or at whatever you're doing. Try to enjoy your work, and your mind will be much better. Consider on the positives, don't focus on negatives too much. Just simple research, whatever it says.
Brilliant, thank you. So the importance of remembering that the mind is also connected to the body, and that's why it's important to do simple things like exercising, eating the right kind of food for your body. And as you were saying, it's so important as well to have that approach and focusing our attention on something that's more positive as well.
I think remembering the name of joy make me joyful. just remember the names of that will bring
He is a
tremendous
bundle of joy.
yeah.
Well,
And what for
that's a
yours?
really
We don't
wonderful-
understand your name.
My names in Tibetan means wisdom, actually. Shut up.
Oh,
Ooh.
wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom will help
Sometimes-
us to become joyful.
Yeah, it sounds like shut up. So it's not to speak too much. Shut up.
Well, but Sona has some meaning in your name, Sona.
Sonia, no, this is Indian name. Sonia is an Indian name. I guess my father
What
wanted
does
to
it
put
mean?
me. I don't know. Can you help me, Joy? I think Sonia is an Indian name, as far as I know.
I thought it's an Italian name. I'm not sure. Like one of our
Many
politicians
people
is
say
called
Italian.
Sonia
I
Gandhi.
mean,
Okay.
we are
One
not
of the Indian
knowledgeable.
politicians.
You have.
Hey, what about your name? Does your name mean anything?
My name is Contemplation on Lotus.
Oh, that's
Contemplation on
beautiful.
Lotus.
Lotus Contemplation. Nice name. Yeah. Okay, nice name.
That's beautiful,
I hate
Koonlin.
it when I was at Christian school. I hate my name, but now I love my name. I use my name for the mindfulness that I developed the system called Koonlin mindfulness, because they combine with Chinese medicine, it combine with traditional qigong and traditional qigong practice or exercise and tai chi. So it's different, slightly different from the universal standard, the MBSR. So I use my name.
Interesting. Okay, so I was thinking, it's been a pleasure talking to all of you, and just as I was hearing how Sonia and a few of you are talking about self-compassion and being kind to yourself, actually that's a really interesting topic, because often people say, oh, just do some self-care, or just be kind to yourself, and sometimes I think, oh, how does that look like? What does that mean? How do I do that? And actually, we're going to have a much longer chat around that topic on the 18th of October, where we've been able to invite a clinical psychologist from Malaysia to share with us more about self-compassion and what that looks like, how we can incorporate that in our daily lives and sort of benefit from that as well. So just really thankful to have everybody from different corners of the world to join me today and share this really meaningful and fun conversation around how we can help ourselves be a bit happier as well and be at peace with whatever we have inside us and around us. So just wanted to thank the audience and those who are listening as well, and for sharing and contributing some of their comments and thoughts. That's been really helpful. So do follow us on the Facebook, Minds Matters. If you have any other comments or anything else you want us to talk about, or any questions for any of these guests, please just type them in, and then we'll look forward to responding to them as well. So I just wanted to say to everybody, have a brilliant week ahead. And I look forward to catching up next week, because we will also have another special guest, actually another host. But we will come to that soon. It'll be a surprise. Some of you might know her, but we'll all find out on the 18th. We'll be open to finding out more on the 18th, Sunday at 8 in Malaysia, but then all the other times I can't calculate for now. But it will be evening around Asia times, more around the morning and afternoon in the European areas. So I just want to say thank you so much, everybody, and I hope to see you all soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Nice to meet you. Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Thanks.